Now to Hungary and the migrant crisis that continues to play out in that country and all across Europe. A dramatic standoff at a train station in Hungary dragged on for the second straight day yesterday and is still ongoing this morning. It comes after the father of the drowned Syrian boy seen around the world is now speaking out. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel reports.
3-year-old Aylan Kurdi, who washed up on a Turkish beach, has become a symbol of a world that doesn't seem to care. His father, in mourning, says the boy, his brother, and mother died in his arms when their raft capsized, bound for Europe. All I want to do now is sit next to the grave of my wife and children, he said. Today, their coffins arrived in Istanbul, were taken to the Turkish border and brought back home to Syria for burial.
Joining us now, Regional Representative of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Shelly Pitterman. Good to have you on the show.
Good morning.
Appreciate it. Give us a sense of the scope of this. I think people are finding themselves surprised that this is happening, and yet it's such an ongoing problem in some ways.
It is an ongoing problem. It's been something that's been in the news and on our agenda for literally 3 years now. 5 years of Syrian conflict. We have 4 million refugees in the immediate vicinity, in the host countries, Lebanon, Turkey, Jordan, Iraq. And we are seeing now, and we have since the end of 2012 already, alerted Europe of the need to prepare for and to deal with the likelihood that there
Why haven't they done
refugees.
it? What's happened?
Well, Europe has tried. They've had European Council meetings. They've had all sorts of political gatherings. They just haven't been able to take a unified approach.
Why not?
We'd have to ask the Europeans.
So yesterday, Mike Barnacle looked at the images on our show and he asked, "Where's the United Nations?" I guess we look at the United Nations and the EU and NATO and other organizations as organizations that could step in and prevent this. What more can the United Nations and the EU do to stop what's happening in the streets there?
Well, what UNHCR is doing is helping the states. We don't do things independently of states, so we're helping the states, Greece, Italy, Macedonia, Serbia, to the extent that we can as well, Hungary, to address the immediate protection needs, to help register people, to help give some care and assistance to individuals, and to help interpret. A lot of these people just need simply to be heard, to make their registration case, to make their case for asylum, and to be helped to move on. But what's required is, and this is where the European Union comes in, clearly there has to be a mechanism within Europe that obliges every state. It's not one state, it's all states that need to be part of the process of receiving.
Has taken only a couple of hundred, refugees, as opposed to the hundreds of thousands that have gone into Germany.
And Europe has received now 300,000 refugees, and in Turkey they've got already almost 2 million.
Let me ask you one of the riddles that haunts people about refugee crises, which is that so often the refugees don't go back home. They stay in the countries to which they moved. What would you say to Hungary or Germany or other European countries that worry these people will come and they'll never leave? They won't go home.
And they could be a very good thing for the economy and for the society in those countries. Look at the United States. But clearly our priority, and certainly that of the refugees themselves, is they want to go home. I mean, if you take the dramatic story of Aylan and his father, what's the immediate reaction? I want to go back to Syria and to bury my family. Now, clearly, people are waiting for there to be peace. People are looking for a political solution. They want to go home. Most of these people, as you very well know, were engaged in professional activities. They had their regular lives, and now it's completely turned topsy-turvy.
Well, how much clout do you... What you're effectively saying is the Europeans need quotas. What the Europeans are saying is, over our dead body will we have quotas. We're not going to do it. The Brits have taken 216. The Germans have said they're going to take 800,000. Who is it that's going to say to Europe, you have an immediate short-term crisis on your hand. These people cannot die on your train stations. These images look like 1939. What are you going to do today? You have 1 week to start taking these people in. Who is it that has the authority to say to the Europeans, you've got to fix this. We cannot have Second World War images in 2015.
Well, the High Commissioner for Refugees can appeal. We can't tell them what to do. We can appeal. And as I mentioned, even when there were 19,000...
Do they listen when you appeal?
Well, they're talking it through. I mean, what can I say? I don't want to disparage the efforts of the European community to address this issue.
But you have been warning them for 5 years.
We've been warning them. Well, I mean, the High Commissioner made the point when there were 19,000 asylum seekers, and now look at the numbers.
Yeah.
So there's a real need for there to be quotas. I don't know how they'll phrase it. Terminology becomes quite an important dimension to this. But there has to be a common commitment to do something. Now, what the terms will be remains to be seen.
So for more information on the refugee crisis around the world, visit unrefugees.org. Shelly Pitterman, thank you very much.